Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Dumansing. Topping our newscast tonight, should medical marijuana be legalized in the Virgin Islands? Senator Terrence Nelson says, ask the people. Senator Nelson's bill, number 30-0422, passed the Senate Committee on Rules and Judiciary on Thursday. If ultimately approved, the question of legalizing medical marijuana could be put out to Virgin Islanders as early as November. News 2's April Knight has more.
Cannabis is as popular as titi bread. We got to stop playing with ourselves and playing with our people.
When the big election day comes in November, Virgin Islands voters might see another item in the general ballot. Not a candidate, but a question. What do they think of legalizing marijuana for medicinal use in the Virgin Islands? On Thursday, Senator Terrence Nelson's bill made it past the Senate Committee on Rules and Judiciary. Nelson emphasized that the bill only allows a referendum vote on medicinal marijuana to be put in the 2014 general election ballot.
This step we're taking now is only putting it on the ballot to the people. That's all this step is.
Several testifiers spoke on the medicinal research and economic boon of legalizing medical marijuana. Nelson himself joined those who spoke from experience, having used cannabis leaves to address his son's medical condition.
My third son had asthma.
1 minute.
Had asthma. I got tired of watching my son had to put that thing on his face, and I said, I can't deal with this. Yes, it ain't hard to acquire. And you ask somebody for the leaves, and I boil it, unbeknown to my wife, and I gave it to my son.
23 states so far have legalized marijuana for medicinal use under certain conditions, and at least 11 of those states have put out a similar referendum vote for residents. If Nelson's bill gets the approval of Senate and later Government House, voting Virgin Islanders could make a choice on more than just candidates come general elections. Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
And we'll keep an eye on the medical marijuana referendum bill as it moves through the Senate. Be sure to count on 2 to keep you updated. Credit card fraud is on the rise, and the VI is not immune to those scams. Recently, a number of residents have lost money because of bogus charges being made to their credit and debit card accounts. Authorities say any fraud should be reported immediately, and people should check their accounts regularly. News 2's Erica Parsons has the story.
Kelly Copley was recently hit with fraudulent charges on her debit card.
They had hundreds of dollars of charges that initiated with one charge that was $1.26. And I was told by USAA that if you see one of those small charges, that it's an indicator they're testing the card.
Copley's not alone. Dozens of people locally have been victims, and they've taken to the web to post their credit card woes. Most of the charges have been outside the territory.
We received a call this week from Capital One, who we have a credit card with, and they were asking us, told us that they thought that there were some fraudulent charges. And when we called them back, it turned out that while I was using the credit card here on island at just some of the normal places that I shop, it was also being swiped on a card in Michigan.
I discovered it because I have USAA, and the bank actually called me and asked if I was traveling. And at the time I was, and they said in France, and I laughed and said I wish.
In both Kelly's and Amy's cases, the crooks were able to duplicate their cards, and experts say there are almost a dozen new ways that people can be hacked and not even know it. Some of those ways include malicious apps on your smartphones and computers, public Wi-Fi, and fake websites of well-known sites like PayPal and Amazon. Police say they are aware of the rise in fraud thefts, but they've only had one report of credit card fraud in 3 months.
We have not had almost any police reports regarding this. I'm really urging anyone who has experienced bank fraud to make a police report.
There are a number of ways to protect yourself from hackers, Kelly's bank said.
Turn off the Wi-Fi on your cell phone, not use it on public Wi-Fis because they can watch every keystroke if they're tapped into the Wi-Fi. We were told not to check bank account balances while we're in line to shop, that type of thing. Do that at home before you go.
For Kelly, doing things the old way makes sense for now.
At this point, my family, we're using cash.
Erica Parsons, News 2.
Again, report suspicious activity to your bank and the police. Officials say checking your bank statements and accounts regularly and letting your bank know when you're traveling is also good advice. The U.S. has entered into civil settlement agreements with 4 VI convenience stores to resolve allegations that the stores unlawfully traded food stamp benefits for cash. They are now required to pay in excess of $100,000 and be permanently debarred from participating in the food stamp program. The stores are Lower Love Service Station in Frederickstead on St. Croix and Broadway Food Mart in the Fort Miller Shopping Center, In-N-Out Mini Mart in Friedendal, and Max Mart in Niski Center on St. Thomas. The food stamp program, known as SNAP, is administered in the Virgin Islands by the Food and Nutrition Service of the United States Department of Agriculture and the Virgin Islands Department of Human Services. The program provides funds for nutritious food to low-income individuals with the use of an electronic benefit transfer card, which operates like a debit card. On Friday, the Senate Finance Committee, with Senator Clifford Graham at the lead, heard 3 sets of budgetary request testimonies. The Commission on Uniform State Laws defended their budget of $25,000 for fiscal year 2015. The VI Olympics Committee also defended their budget of $2.2 million. The Virgin Islands Public Television System also defended a budget of $3.9 million. As WTJX prepares to transition to new leadership, senators were concerned on how the employees are faring in terms of morale.
If you had to rate the morale of the employees from a rate of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, what would that number be?
9.
9.
That's how I would rate it.
Okay. Now, of course, we're going to ask your employees after you leave, how would they rate it?
An attempt to broker a temporary truce between Israel and Hamas has failed. Now, Israel's defense minister is considering expanding the ground offensive in Gaza. CBS's Alfonso Van Marsh has the latest from Israel-Gaza border.
After intense talks in Cairo, Secretary of State John Kerry says he was unable to hammer out a temporary ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, but he's still holding out hope.
We don't yet have that final framework, but I will tell you this, none of us here are stopping.
Israeli media reports that Israel's security cabinet rejected the current plan because it involved scaling back the destruction of Hamas tunnels into Israel. Israeli airstrikes hit 80 targets in Gaza, while Hamas militants fired 50 rockets at Israel. 30 homes were hit in Gaza. A Hamas leader and 2 of his sons were killed. In Israel, a Hamas rocket hit a residential home.
Here on Israel's border with Gaza, families are spending the day with military service members on active duty. Usually on Fridays, soldiers would get to go home, but because of the conflict, they can't.
As troops prepare for the war around them, families are having picnics or bringing snacks from home. Tova Uziel Maluh says she's not concerned about the danger. She says, "My heart is with them. I love them. I feel like they are all my children." This former service member agrees.
All this nation is one family, and nobody can break us.
If a week-long ceasefire is reached, it would allow more time to work on a lasting truce that would send these soldiers home. Alfonso Van Marsh, CBS News on the Israeli-Gaza border.
Be sure to tune into CBS Evening News at 7:30 for the latest. Meanwhile, keeping our eye on the economy, Delta, United Airlines, and U.S. Airways have all resumed service to Tel Aviv. Rockets fired from the Gaza Strip that hit near Israel's main airport caused the FAA to ban U.S. service to that area. That ban has now been lifted. Here's a look at the New York Stock Exchange with our stock market watch. The Dow, Nasdaq, S&P all down. The Dow 123, Nasdaq 22, S&P 9. Coming up on News 2, police need your help as they continue to investigate a murder, an assault, and a missing persons report. The Crime Stoppers report is coming up next. Plus, our summer fun segment. Here is something to add to your list. Some consider it extreme water sports, but most families do it as a hobby, especially here in the Virgin Islands. Details coming up. If you have any information about the following crimes or any persons involved, you are urged to call Crime Stoppers USVI at 1-800-222-TIPS or submit a web tip. Remember, you never have to give your name or appear in court. Crime Stoppers USVI will pay a cash reward of up to $2,500, and you can remain anonymous. Even the smallest bit of information can help. With that in mind, here's this week's Crime Stoppers report. Police say on Sunday, July 13th, 2014 at 12 p.m., officers responded to shots fired in Estate 22 in St. Thomas in the area known as Monster Hill. The officers discovered a white four-door Toyota Corolla in the roadway with the engine running. Several feet away from the car, they found the lifeless body of 19-year-old Sheldon Benjamin Jr. with gunshot wounds. The Major Crimes Unit is asking for information regarding persons or vehicles that may have been seen in the area. On St. John on July 17, 2014, after midnight, police observed a male in downtown Cruz Bay with a laceration to his head that required immediate medical attention. The male indicated that he was assaulted by someone while he was sleeping on the beach in Cruz Bay. Please help police with any information that you may have in this matter. Law enforcement is asking for your help to locate Angel Joel Ventura, a resident of Estate Williams Delight on St. Croix, who was last seen on or about December 30th, 2013. Continue to help our community become a safer place to live by submitting information on these or any other crimes by calling 1-800-222-TIPS, that's 8477, or by texting USVI plus your message to crimes at 274-637. Here is something to consider on your summer fun list. When it comes to extreme water sports, jet skiing is one that most families do as a hobby. Jet ski rentals are available on St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John in single and double riders. Jet ski tours are available, and sometimes they even include stopping at snorkeling spots and hanging out at the beach. Concerned about safety? Well, each company will provide information. However, everyone is mandated to wear life jackets. There are lanyards that are placed around the wrist, attaching you to the handlebars of the watercraft. So if you accidentally go overboard, the string or the lanyard attached to your wrist will be pulled out of the handlebar, switching off the engine. The handle of the jet ski is a button that sends an electrical signal to the engine's ignition, which starts the process of turning the motor. You still have some time to head over to Roosevelt Park to experience the sounds of tenor saxophonist and vocalist Camille Thurman until 10 p.m. She's an accomplished performer and composer. Camille has performed with jazz and R&B greats like Dr. Billy Taylor, Chaka Khan, Benny Golson, George Coleman. Dr. Camille also leads her own quartet, which has performed at the Kennedy Center and many other prominent jazz venues and festivals around the world. Jazz in the Park event comes complete with food vendors as well as a kids zone activity area that will offer free face painting, tattoos, and balloon art for the children. Many women were in attendance at the Women Striving for Success annual conference entitled Success, Imagine It, Plan It, Capture It. It was a full day of networking at the Marriott's Frenchman's Reef Hotel, informative work sessions with notable human resources coaches, public relations professionals, attorneys, and financial experts were all there. There was also a fashion show and silent auction. The keynote speaker, Miss Melanie Jones, who is the Market Unit Vice President of Sales Operations for Coca-Cola Refreshments for South Florida, she shared her story and advice. Women Striving for Success, Inc. started as a grassroots movement in 2012 and operates as a nonprofit community of women business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals supporting each other in successful personal and professional development and enrichment.
So basically, we want women to start thinking in terms of if you have your goals, you have to set your goals and you have to plan to get there. And so success doesn't just happen overnight. Sometimes we look at persons and we say, they're lucky. And sometimes they're not just lucky, they actually planned their way to success.
Be sure to stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.